Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping into the high-stakes, intensely local, and absolutely fascinating world of village governance. I mean, think about it. Massive policies are always debated in national parliament, sure, but the policies that actually dictate your everyday life, the water you drink, the road you walk on, the light illuminating your street, those are all managed much closer to home. And at the absolute center of this local political arena is one single figure, the Sarpanch. This isn't just some administrative desk job. It is a position of immense power, profound responsibility, and honestly fierce political battle. Okay, let's dive right into this.
So, who truly holds the power in your village? If you're sitting there thinking it's just a local clerk pushing papers around, you might want to think again. The Sarpanch is really the protagonist of a high-stakes political reality. Under historical frameworks like the Mumbai Gram Panchayat Act of 1958, the Sarpanch is the executive head. We're talking the undeniable chief of the village. They are the primary decision-maker, the ultimate guardian of the village's development, and the direct link between state governments and rural citizens. But actually achieving this title? Oh, it is not for the faint of heart.
Act 1. The leader's origin story.
Right, so before a candidate can even dream of sitting in the chief's chair, they have to survive a pretty strict gauntlet of eligibility rules. And these rules have dramatically tightened over the years, testing both a person's character and their civic responsibility. Starting back in 1995, a candidate had to have at least a 7th grade education. By 2001, to promote population control, a strict 2-child limit was enforced for anyone wanting to run. And then in 2015, tying directly into the Swachh Bharat or Clean India mission, it became literally mandatory for candidates to have a functional toilet in their own home. Which makes total sense, right? You absolutely cannot lead a village in sanitation if your own house doesn't even meet the standard.
And this next part brilliantly illustrates the literal buy-in required. To stand for election, candidates really have to put their money where their mouth is. The official deposit is 500 rupees for reserved categories and 2,000 rupees for open categories. But here is the humiliating catch, and it's a big one. If a candidate fails to secure even 1/10 of the total votes, that deposit is fully confiscated by the state. It's a financial and honestly a public embarrassment designed specifically to weed out anyone who doesn't have true community backing.
Act 2. Wielding the power. Once in office, the daily actions of the Sarpanch literally dictate the life and death of village amenities. They are completely responsible for managing drinking water facilities and ensuring streetlight maintenance so villagers aren't just left in the dark. They hold the power to issue official government certificates and supervise local primary schools. Furthermore, they're legally tasked with uplifting the deprived sections of the village, ensuring widows, the disabled, and marginalized communities actually receive their government benefits. It's a deeply noble and incredibly exhaustive list of duties.
But here is where the true power lies. The Sarpanch exercises immense financial control. Out of all the allocated village funds, the Sarpanch has direct discretionary control over 25% of it. This means they can authorize spending on urgent village needs without having to jump through endless bureaucratic hoops. The remaining 75% is managed collectively with the Gram Panchayat, sure, but having that 25% right at their fingertips, that makes the Sarpanch a formidable local force.
Act 3. The Village Vault. Now, the contrast in local governance is staggering when you look at the numbers. The spending power of a Sarpanch actually scales with the village population. For a small village under 1,500 people, the Sarpanch can authorize projects up to 50,000 rupees, while earning a really modest monthly honorarium of just 3,000 rupees. For a medium village, that spending limit jumps to 1 lakh rupees against a 4,000 rupee pay. And for large villages above 3,000 people, they can spend up to 1.75 lakhs with only a 5,000 rupee honorarium. So to put that into perspective, you have a leader managing massive public funds while earning a very small official salary. This dynamic obviously sets the stage for potential corruption, which is exactly why strict public auditing is absolutely crucial. Every single public fund ledger and project contract must undergo independent financial audits, ensuring that every rupee spent matches the work actually completed on the ground. Moving on to Act 4, the Grand Councils. This brings us to the ultimate arena of accountability, 12. That is the exact number of official Gram Sabha meetings that must be held every single year. So, roughly once a month, the Sarpanch is legally required to summon the village, present their work, and face questions directly from the people. This demands constant, unflinching accountability from the leader. There's nowhere to hide.
But a meeting can't just happen with the Sarpanch and a few of their friends. It requires something called Gana Purti, or a legal quorum. For a Gram Sabha to be official, at least 15% of the registered voters, or a minimum of 100 people, must be physically present. If the villagers simply don't show up, the council cannot proceed. It's a brilliant rule, honestly, because it shows how the villagers' mere presence is the ultimate check on a leader's power.
And the absolute most important of these meetings happens right at the start of the financial year, on April 1st. This is when the Sarpanch must present the Andaj Patrak, which is the monumental annual village budget. Historically, this was done by an appointed Gram Sevak, but the power has shifted. Now the Sarpanch holds the crucial duty of standing before the entire village and justifying exactly where every single rupee is going to be spent in the coming year.
Act 5. The Price of Betrayal.
Now, we have to contrast the noble duties of village development with the grim reality of common complaints from villagers. All too often, funds meant for sanitation, clean water, and roads just miraculously disappear into personal luxuries. Villagers frequently report suspected financial misconduct, citing sudden purchases of personal vehicles or even the distribution of alcohol to buy votes. When this kind of stuff happens, vigilant citizens must formally report these discrepancies to the block development officer or higher district authorities to trigger an investigation. It's a sad reality that the very funds meant to uplift the village are sometimes weaponized to exploit it.
And complicating this corruption is a truly shocking legal loophole. Get this, the anti-defection law, which is the law that prevents politicians from switching parties after being elected, it does not apply at the Gram Panchayat level. No way, right? But it's true. This fuels incredibly chaotic shifting allegiances. Members can just flip their loyalties overnight based on who is offering the most money or power, creating an incredibly unstable political environment for the whole village.
Act 6. The Fall from Grace.
So what happens when corruption becomes too much? Well, the village possesses an ultimate weapon, the no-confidence motion. It's almost like a political thriller. If the Sarpanch goes rogue, first, 1/3 of the Panchayat members must formally submit a motion to the local Tehsildar. Then, a special, highly tense meeting is called within just 7 days. To legally overthrow the Sarpanch, a massive 2/3 majority vote is required against them. And, actually, if the Sarpanch is female, the threshold is even higher at 3/4, which is designed to protect against gender-based political targeting. Finally, the district collector reviews the motion and gives a final, binding verdict within 30 days, officially stripping the corrupt leader of their title.
However, the Sarpanch does have some legal armor to prevent constant, frivolous attacks. A no-confidence motion cannot be filed during their first 6 months in office, giving them time to settle in. It also can't be filed in their final 6 months. And crucially, if a rebellion is launched and the motion fails, another motion cannot be brought against them for an entire year. So the timing of a rebellion is absolutely critical for the villagers. You kinda only get one real shot at it.
So what does this all mean? The role of the Sarpanch is a brilliant, highly structured democratic mechanism operating right at our doorsteps. It's a role demanding education, strict financial transparency, and unyielding public accountability. Knowing the incredible power they hold, the strict rules they must follow, and the ultimate power you hold to remove them. Will your village's next leader rise to the occasion, or will they fall to the vote? I want you to think about that and take an active role in your local democracy, because as we've seen today, the power truly begins with you. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and stay engaged.